I've always loved hiking. Something about the solitude of the woods and the clean, crisp air makes me feel alive. So when I got a rare weekend off from work, I decided to tackle a remote trail called Black Hollow Path. It wasn't listed on any major hiking apps, but an old coworker swore it was the most beautiful trail he'd ever been on. He mentioned it almost in passing, but his tone changed when he described the path, like he was remembering something he didn't want to say out loud. I should have picked up on that. The trailhead wasn't easy to find. It was tucked behind an overgrown dirt road with no parking lot or signs. Just a weathered wooden post with a faded carving. Stay quiet. They listen. I chalked it up to some kind of joke or local folklore and pushed forward, eager to escape the chaos of daily life. The path was stunning, lined with towering pines that blocked most of the sunlight, casting long shadows even in the early afternoon. The air smelled earthy, fresh, but oddly still, like the woods were holding their breath. About an hour in, I realized I hadn't seen a single animal. No birds, no squirrels, not even a distant rustle of leaves. Just my boots crunching on the dirt path. The silence was oppressive, like the forest was watching me. Then came the whispers. At first, I thought it was the wind, a low murmur threading through the trees. But as I stopped to listen, it became clear. They weren't random sounds. It was speech, words. I couldn't make them out, but they were soft and insistent, almost like they were beckoning me forward. I told myself it was my imagination, maybe an echo of the wind in the canyon ahead. Still, I felt my pace quicken, my heart racing for no reason. Every so often, I thought I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, dark shapes slipping between the trees. When I turned to look, there was nothing. I tried to focus on the trail, keeping my eyes down and counting my steps to calm myself. That's when I noticed the footprints. They weren't mine. At first, they were faint, like someone had walked the trail days ago. But as I moved further, they became fresher, overlapping with my own. It looked like whoever or whatever had been walking behind me had started walking in front of me. My stomach sank. I spun around, expecting to see someone standing there, but the trail was empty. The whispers grew louder, though, their cadence quicker, more urgent. My rational brain screamed at me to turn back, but something deeper, a pull I couldn't explain, kept me moving forward. The trail twisted sharply, and the forest opened into a small clearing. At the center was a wooden cabin, its roof caved in and walls covered in moss. It looked ancient, like it had been swallowed by the woods decades ago. I should have turned back, but my legs carried me closer, drawn by something I couldn't name. The door was slightly ajar, and as I stepped closer, I saw faint handprints on the wood, small, childlike, and smeared with something dark. My breath caught as I noticed the whispers had stopped. The silence was deafening. I peered inside. The cabin was empty, save for a single chair in the center of the room. On it sat a backpack, my backpack. I stumbled back, heart pounding, trying to make sense of it. I had my backpack. It was on my shoulders, but there it was, worn and dirty, with the same patches and frayed straps. A chill ran down my spine as I heard it. A single word, whispered directly into my ear. Run. I bolted, crashing through the trees, abandoning the trail. Branches tore at my arms and face, but I didn't care. The whispers returned, louder now, overlapping in a chaotic cacophony. I didn't look back. When I finally burst out of the woods and onto the dirt road, the whispers stopped. The world seemed to snap back into focus. Birds chirped. The wind rustled the leaves. I scrambled to my car and sped away, not daring to glance in the rearview mirror until I was miles away. When I finally did, I froze. My backpack was gone. But it wasn't over. That night, I woke up drenched in sweat, heart pounding. I dreamt of the cabin, the chair, and the whispers. Only, in the dream, there had been someone sitting in the chair, a shadowy figure with hollow eyes that seemed to watch me even as I ran. I tried to shake it off as I got up to grab a glass of water, but something felt off. The air in my house felt wrong, like it had in the forest. Heavy, still, expectant. As I walked down the hallway, I stopped dead in my tracks. My backpack was sitting at the end of the hall, propped against the wall. It looked filthy, covered in dirt and twigs, like it had been dragged through the forest. My throat went dry. Slowly, I reached out to touch it, but the second my fingers grazed the fabric, I heard it again. The whispers. This time, they weren't distant. They were inside my head, so loud and overlapping I couldn't understand the words. I stumbled back, clutching my ears, but the sound wouldn't stop. And then I saw it. A shadow moved across the wall, separate from me. It darted past the backpack and disappeared into my bedroom. My pulse thundered in my ears as I grabbed the nearest object, a lamp, and crept toward the door. It was ajar, and the darkness inside seemed to spill out, like it was alive. I pushed the door open, lamp raised, ready to strike. The whispers stopped. The room was empty, but the air was freezing. My breath came out in white puffs, and frost clung to the edges of the window. My bed was undisturbed, except for one thing: the handprints. They were smeared across the headboard, small and dark, just like the ones on the cabin door. I don't remember much after that. I must have blacked out because I woke up the next morning on the floor of my living room, the lamp still clutched in my hand. The backpack was gone. I haven't been able to sleep since. Sometimes late at night, I hear the whispers again. They're faint, but they're there, calling me back to the woods. I've always loved hiking, the solitude, the crisp air, and the feeling of being surrounded by nature. It's my escape from the chaos of daily life. Last month, I decided to tackle a trail I hadn't explored before. It was tucked away in a remote part of the forest, recommended by an older coworker who swore it was a hidden gem. The views are breathtaking, he said, but it's not for the faint-hearted. The trail isn't marked, so take your compass and be sharp. I started early that morning. The trailhead was nothing more than a small dirt path wedged between two towering pines, barely visible from the gravel parking lot. It wasn't listed on any official maps, which made it all the more exciting. The first couple of hours were perfect. The trail snaked through dense trees, occasionally opening up to reveal stunning vistas of the valley below. I felt completely at peace. But as noon approached, the trail began to feel different. The trees grew thicker, their branches twisting unnaturally, casting jagged shadows on the forest floor. The air turned cold, far colder than it should have been for a late fall afternoon. I shrugged it off as mountain weather and pressed on. That's when I saw it. A strange mark carved into a tree. It wasn't graffiti or initials like you'd normally see. It looked more like a symbol, something ancient like a rune. I brushed my fingers over it, feeling the grooves etched deep into the bark. A chill ran down my spine. About a mile later, I saw another symbol, then another. They grew more frequent, and soon I realized they were guiding me off the trail. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. The deeper I went, the quieter it became. No birds, no rustling leaves, just the sound of my boots crunching against the forest floor. I started to notice things that didn't belong. An old, rusted lantern hanging from a branch, a pair of shoes neatly placed in the dirt, their laces tied together. Then I stumbled upon the clearing. At the center was a small stone structure, barely taller than my waist. It looked like an altar, covered in moss and surrounded by more carved symbols. The air here felt heavy, almost suffocating. I wanted to turn back, but something about the place rooted me to the spot. That's when I saw it. A figure stood at the edge of the clearing. At first, I thought it was a person, a hiker maybe, but the way it moved was all wrong. Its limbs seemed too long, its head tilted unnaturally to the side. It didn't walk so much as glide, its bare feet never touching the ground. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. The figure raised a hand and pointed at me. I didn't wait to find out what it wanted. I bolted. The forest blurred as I ran, the symbols on the trees flashing past me like warnings. But the faster I ran, the more lost I became. The trail was gone, replaced by an endless maze of trees. My compass spun wildly, useless. I could hear it behind me. Footsteps, soft and deliberate, matching my pace. I didn't dare look back. My lungs burned, and my legs felt like lead, but adrenaline kept me going. Just when I thought I couldn't run anymore, I burst into another clearing. But it wasn't an escape, it was the same clearing. The altar stood there, untouched, as if I had never left. The figure was waiting for me. This time I got a better look. Its face was blank. No eyes, no mouth, just smooth, pale skin. It tilted its head again, almost curiously, and then it started toward me. I screamed and backed away, tripping over a root and landing hard on the ground. I scrambled to my feet and bolted into the trees, running blindly until I saw something that made my heart leap. A flash of sunlight on metal. It was my car. I don't know how I made it back, but I didn't stop running until I slammed the door and locked it. I sat there, shaking, staring at the trailhead. Nothing moved. The forest was silent, peaceful even, as if mocking me. I haven't gone hiking since, and I've started noticing things. Symbols, faint and almost imperceptible, appearing on the trees in my neighborhood. I swear I saw the figure once, standing at the edge of the woods near my home, watching. I stopped looking out my windows at night,